In Jordan this weekend, a simmering family feud publicly boiled over.
Lives and futures of our children and their children are at stake if this continues.
When popular Prince Hamza accused his half-brother's government of neglecting its own people.
Their well-being has been put second by a ruling system that has decided that its personal interests, that its financial interests, that its corruption is more important than the lives and dignity and futures of the 10 million people that live here.
Jordanian authorities placed Hamza under house arrest for what they labeled an attempt to unseat his half-brother King Abdullah. They arrested nearly 20 other people for collaboration, including former finance minister Bassem Awadallah, in what Jordan's foreign minister called a foreign-backed plot.
These investigations also found links between Bassem Awadallah and foreign elements, the so-called external oppositions related to weakening Jordan's steadfast position on major issues.
For decades, Jordan was ruled by King Hussein. His second wife, Princess Muna al-Hussein, gave birth to their oldest son, Abdullah, the current king who took power in 1999. Hussein's fourth wife, Noor, a Syrian-American, gave birth to Hamza, making Hamza Abdullah's half-brother. The Hashemite kingdom has long been viewed as a reliable partner at a crossroads in the Middle East, bordering Syria, Iraq, Israel, and the occupied West Bank. But its economy is struggling. This year, unemployment jumped to 25%. Exports and tourism are down. Syrian refugees tax an overburdened system. And the downturn's exacerbated by one of the world's strictest COVID lockdowns.
Our economy is collapsing. Look at the shop. It is empty.
That frustration has fueled protests. Last month, security forces fired tear gas at anti-lockdown demonstrators. And last year, King Abdullah dissolved the country's parliament. But Hamza's criticism is unique because its source and target are the highest echelons of royal power.
This country has become stymied in corruption, in nepotism, and in misrule. And the result has been the destruction or the loss of hope.
Jordan allies quickly came to the kingdom's defense.
The king has our full support, and that is in large part because Jordan is a close friend.
And a Saudi royal court statement affirmed its full standing by and the support with all its capabilities for the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan. But internally, Hamza's defenders defied the government. His mother Noor tweeted, "Truth and justice will prevail for all the innocent victims of this wicked slander." Today, at first, Hamza vowed to keep speaking out.
Of course I will not abide when he tells me you are not allowed to go out, tweet, or connect with people, and you are only allowed to see family members.
But by the end of the day, he released a statement, quote, "We must all stand behind His Majesty the King."
We explore this rift now with Dr. Besma Momani, Professor of Political Science at the University of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada. Thank you very much. Welcome to the NewsHour. So Jordan's allies have always viewed it as an oasis of stability. Do these incidents affect that stability?
Well, certainly it suggests that there's some sort of cracks inside the system. And Jordanians have been really perplexed by the narrative that the government has given them. It's unclear whether or not there is some sort of foreign element to the story, or is this an internal squabble within the royal family? That's really the main question. And certainly I think many Jordanians could deal with the reality that there might be internal squabbles, but the idea that there is some sort of foreign meddling or intervention or possible plot to undermine the government is something that is clearly keeping them up awake tonight.
There's no proof that authorities have presented of the foreign plot, and there's certainly talk of this family feud, which has existed in the past. What is the source of that family feud, and how long has it been running?
There's certainly some regular kinds of succession battles that one sees in royal families. But, I think unlike what you might see in neighboring countries, whether it's, Saudi Arabia or the UAE and others, we haven't seen this kind of very public display of challenges from within. And that really is quite remarkable. Now, Prince Hamza is a popular figure, and certainly amongst a certain group, particularly East Bank tribal community, which do see that he really is reminiscent of his father. In many ways, he has the same kind of charismatic personal touch. Even if you saw in the video, there was, I think, a lot of references to the common person, the struggles of corruption, the economic crisis that is really on the minds of many Jordanians. So, he is very much in the spotlight. And I think that really is one of the core issues that in fact led to this situation that the country's in today.
Does that popularity among tribal leaders that Prince Hamza had, does that translate into actual power that would allow him to actually threaten the government?
No, I don't think so, partly because these East Bank tribes very much don't want to see the monarchy as an institution crumble. They're disaffected. Certainly, they do feel that there needs to be some serious structural reforms in the country. They're very frustrated with the nepotism and the corruption. But in no way do I think they have any interest in seeing undermining of the regime. And regardless, I think bringing in a different king, for that matter, would just bring in that kind of instability that no Jordanian, including East Bankers, wants to see. But what you did see in the past few days is, in fact, many Jordanians changing their avatars, if you will, to the picture of Hamza, a lot of outpouring of support on Facebook, questioning the narrative that the government gave them. And I think actually we saw in many ways the Royal Palace today kind of concede to the fact that this is not working. This messaging backfired. The release of that tape that Hamza sent out was making the situation more problematic, and they were better off to actually make amends. And that's exactly what we saw today.
Finally, let's talk quickly about some of the other people arrested. Basim Awadallah, who was an informal liaison of the king to Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. What's the significance of his arrest?
Well, I think, frankly, it was an attempt of distraction, trying to put a foreign element into this. Look, Basim Awadallah has no popularity inside the country. He's been frankly blamed for a lot of the privatization and neoliberal policies that have made so many things difficult for the average Jordanian. So his name is synonymous with so much of the things and the economic policies in particular that the country does not like and feels very much challenged, the way that Jordan had its social contract for so many years. So I think it really is a distraction. And the connection between Hamza and Basim Awadallah, I mean, I think there's no imaginative person who could make that connection. So really to try and find a way to lump these two together in one sentence just does not make sense. And frankly, it added more confusion and uncertainty in the narrative being provided by the government.